She walked into the spotlight in black lace and moonlight. The crowd swayed, hypnotized by a figure who seemed half real, half dream. The shawls floated, the voice trembled like a spell, and for a moment everyone in the room believed in magic. But what they didn't see was the woman behind the myth, the one quietly unraveling beneath the weight of her own legend. How does a girl from Phoenix become the high priestess of rock, only to find herself haunted by the very songs that made her immortal? Stay with us, because what you're about to hear isn't the story told on vinyl or in interviews. It's the untold cost of being Stevie Nicks. She was the sound of an era-part poet, part prophet, part survivor. Her music wasn't just listened to, it was felt, lived, worn like a second skin by millions. Yet while the world twirled in lace imitating her image, Stevie was fighting battles no audience could see. Behind the gypsy silhouette was a woman terrified of losing control of her voice, her love, her sanity. She once said, "Don't be a lady, be a legend." But legends bleed, and no one tells you how much it hurts. Stephanie Lynn Nicks was born in Phoenix, Arizona on May 26, 1948. Her father, Jess, was a businessman who never stayed in one place for long. Her mother, Barbara, a protective dreamer who encouraged Stevie's imagination. The family moved constantly: Utah, New Mexico, Texas, California, and every goodbye carved another hollow space in her heart. "It taught me how to be alone," she said years later. "It also taught me that loneliness can write beautiful songs." Her grandfather, a struggling country singer, gave her her first taste of music. She was 4 when she sang duets with him on stage at local bars. The tiny blonde girl with a voice far older than her years. At 16, she was gifted a Goya guitar, and everything shifted. The first song she wrote, "I've Loved and I've Lost," sounded prophetic. The theme of loss would never leave her. By the time she was at Menlo Atherton High School in Palo Alto, she was shy, bookish, a romantic who scribbled lyrics in notebooks. Then she met Lindsey Buckingham. He was serious, intense, a perfectionist. They sang together at a party once, and that was it. A connection made of harmonies and friction. They formed a band, Fritz, opening for Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. Stevie watched those women, bold, raw, unapologetic, and wondered if she could ever be that free. After Fritz dissolved, she and Lindsey recorded an album, Buckingham Nicks, 1973. It failed commercially, but fate was waiting in disguise. One day, Mick Fleetwood heard their record and asked them to join Fleetwood Mac. When Stevie walked into the first rehearsal in 1975, she was 27, broke, exhausted, and ready to gamble everything. Within months, Fleetwood Mac's new lineup exploded onto the charts. The hit Rhiannon turned her into an icon. On stage, she transformed. Black chiffon, platform boots, a tambourine. Wrapped in ribbons, she moved like a spirit caught between worlds. But behind the performance was a woman trying to hold herself together as fame redefined her. She once admitted she created the Rhiannon persona as a shield, a way to survive under the male-dominated rock machine. "Rhiannon was the girl I wanted to be," she said. "Powerful, in control, not afraid." Success came fast, and so did the fractures. Stevie and Lindsey's romantic relationship fell apart under the pressure of touring and ambition. But they couldn't separate. Their creative chemistry was too magnetic. The breakup bled into the studio sessions for Rumors, 1977, a record born of chaos. John and Christine McVie's marriage crumbled. Mick Fleetwood's marriage fell apart. Cocaine flowed like water. Stevie poured her heartbreak into Dreams, a song written in 10 minutes in a spare room. It became Fleetwood Mac's only U.S. #1 hit. But for her, the song was no victory lap. It was an epitaph for a relationship she still had to sing about every night on stage. Imagine that, looking across the microphone and harmonizing with the man who'd broken your heart. The applause felt colder after a while. As Rumors conquered the world, the band members spiraled deeper into emotional warfare. Stevie found herself in an affair with Mick Fleetwood, brief, secret, doomed. It was a doomed thing, she confessed later. "It was doomed because it made me feel like I had betrayed my best friend and my band." The tabloids never fully caught the truth, but the guilt lingered for years. Fame magnified everything, every wound, every temptation. She became addicted to the pace, the shows, the attention, the escape. Cocaine became both fuel and crutch. In the early 1980s, her doctor warned that her nasal passages were eroding. They told me if I kept going, I could lose my voice, she said. But she didn't stop, not yet. The machine demanded she keep spinning. Then, in 1981, she broke free or tried to. Her first solo album, Belladonna, launched her as one of the decade's most powerful female artists. It was a triumph. 4 top 40 singles, millions of copies sold. Edge of 17, written in grief for her uncle and John Lennon, captured her at her most vulnerable and fearless. But even as she reached her peak, tragedy shadowed her again. Her best friend, Robin Anderson, was diagnosed with leukemia shortly after giving birth. Stevie stayed by her side through the illness, performing at night and visiting the hospital by day. When Robin died, something broke inside her. In a haze of grief, Stevie married Robin's widower, Kim Anderson, hoping to mother the baby her friend had left behind. It was a desperate act of love, and a mistake she would forever regret. I was out of my mind, she admitted. I thought if I married Kim, Robin wouldn't really be gone. The marriage collapsed in 3 months, but the pain lasted decades. That loss bled into her music. The Wild Heart, 1983, and Rock a Little, 1985, were full of yearning, defiance, and fatigue. The songs sounded like spells, confessions disguised as enchantments, but behind the scenes, her body was failing. The cocaine use worsened. A doctor at the Betty Ford Clinic told her she had burned a hole in her nasal tissue the size of a dime. She checked herself into rehab in 1986, terrified she'd lose her voice. When she emerged sober, the industry expected her to simply step back into the spotlight. But her mind was fogged, her spirit dulled. Then came another blow. Her psychiatrist prescribed Klonopin to help her cope with anxiety. She trusted the medication at first. Years later, she would call it the worst mistake of my life. It numbed her creativity, flattened her emotions. She gained weight, lost confidence, stopped writing songs. I didn't feel high, she said. I just didn't feel anything. It took her nearly 8 years to wean off the drug. By the time she did, she said she felt like she'd lost a decade. Through it all, the world kept calling her back. Fleetwood Mac reunited in various incarnations. The tension softened into nostalgia. But Stevie was still haunted by what fame had cost her. She had no children, no long-term partner. My songs are my children, she said. I chose them instead. That statement was both proud and heartbreaking. Don Henley once revealed that she had been pregnant with his child in the late 1970s and chose abortion, believing she couldn't be a mother and a musician. That decision saved Fleetwood Mac, she later said, but it left a scar she carried quietly. Her private journals from the 1990s reveal the loneliness that success never cured. I wanted someone to share the castle with, she wrote, but the walls got too high. Yet she found solace in her art again. Albums like Trouble in Shangri-La 2001 rekindled her muse. Younger artists like Sheryl Crow and Courtney Love sought her guidance. She had become what she once dreamed of, a woman with her own orbit, her own myth. Still, the ghost never left. She lost friends to addiction, lovers to distance, and years to recovery. But when Fleetwood Mac reunited for the Dance 1997, it was as if time folded in on itself. The same 5 faces stood under the same lights, older, wiser, still bound by music and memory. When Stevie sang Silver Springs, a song long cut from Rumors, she looked straight at Lindsay. The line, "You'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loves you," hit like thunder. Decades of hurt condensed into one performance. It was raw, electric, almost unbearable, and it became one of the most replayed moments in live music history. By the 2000s, she had transformed her pain into wisdom. She leaned into her image, the shawls, the candles, the mysticism not as artifice, but as armor. The girl who wrote Rhiannon needed to protect herself, she said. The same woman I am now knows why. She embraced her role as the elder stateswoman of rock, mentoring artists from Florence Welch to Harry Styles. When Styles inducted her into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019, her second induction, making her the first woman honored twice, he called her everything you'd ever want in a rock star and more. And yet, she remained a paradox, fragile but fierce, isolated but adored. Her house in Pacific Palisades became a sanctuary filled with journals, shawls, art, and memories. She still writes longhand with a black felt pen, still records late at night when the world is quiet. In one interview, she said, "I've spent my life chasing magic. I just didn't realize the magic would sometimes chase me back." The years brought new challenges. Health scares forced her off tours. A fractured shoulder in 2025 reminded her that the body ages even when the spirit refuses to. But she never called it quitting. "I'll stop when I can't twirl," she laughed once. Until then, I'm still the girl in the shawl. So what remains after all the glitter fades? Perhaps the truest measure of Stevie Nicks is not her fame, but her endurance. Every scar became a lyric. Every mistake became a verse. She turned addiction into redemption, grief into melody, heartbreak into art that never dies. When she sings Landslide today, her voice carries the tremor of time, a woman who's lived every line she ever wrote. Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? She still asks the question, and maybe that's the point. She never stopped searching. The tragedy of Stevie Nicks isn't that she fell, it's that she kept rising when she shouldn't have been able to. She lost love, friends, her health, and somehow built an empire from the ruins. She never married again, never had the white picket fence life. But in exchange, she became something rarer, a symbol of feminine resilience that refused to apologize for ambition, emotion, or mysticism. Behind the lace and smoke, there's a heartbeat that never stopped. The white-winged dove still flies, a little slower now, but unbroken. And if you listen closely, you can still hear her in the distance, that husky voice carrying through time, whispering that survival itself is an art form. Because for Stevie Nicks, the show was never about perfection. It was about staying alive long enough to keep singing. If stories like this move you, stories of the beauty and pain that live behind the music, stay with us. Subscribe, and let's keep uncovering the lives the spotlight forgot.